I'll turn the floor over to Dan McCaffery. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, it's very nice to be here back in York County. I've been here several times. The Attorney General has great discretion to really get involved in any aspect of the law, the legal system in Pennsylvania. There is a component to it that you are the top prosecutor and you can prosecute certain crimes in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but you're also responsible for defending the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania from lawsuits brought against it, such as for personal injury, causes of action, that kind of thing. One of the things that I think the Attorney General over the last several years has done very poorly is they really haven't focused on economic crimes. They haven't focused on antitrust crimes, white-collar prosecution, things of that nature. I really want to expand the use of economic crimes and white-collar prosecutions in that office and try to recover the millions and millions of dollars that's wrongfully stolen from Pennsylvania taxpayers on a daily basis. Well, you know, I took a look around and, you know, I've had a very successful 20-year career as an attorney. First as a prosecutor in the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, and over the last 15 years building a small regional Montgomery County law firm into one of the fastest growing law firms in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And, you know, as I looked around, I thought that, you know, over a 20-year career, I've seen what works and what doesn't work in a courtroom. And I wanted to bring those kind of common sense, everyday practical experiences to the Office of Attorney General and make the office into something that every Pennsylvanian can be proud of. Born and raised in Philadelphia, I am the youngest of 7 to Irish immigrants. My mother and father came to this country from Belfast, Northern Ireland. My father, Seamus McCaffery, my mother, Rita McCaffery, fled their home in Northern Ireland to escape sectarian violence. They relocated to Philadelphia, and they raised their family here in the Philadelphia area. I grew up northeast Philadelphia in the Rawlinghurst section. Went to Father Judge High School, which I'm very, very proud of. When I graduated from high school, I went on to the United States Army. I enrolled in the United States Army in the 1st Cavalry Division, which is my pin. From there, I was honorably discharged after being selected to attend West Point. I went to college at Temple University on a veteran scholarship. Then I headed on to Temple University Law School, also on a veteran scholarship, and from there, 6 years in the DA's office, 15 years practicing law, and now I'm taking a shot at statewide politics. My father had a fan who, from the time he was 15, came to every one of his fights, loved my father, and gave my dad an opportunity at the age of 18 that no other Catholic in my father's community had. And as simple as this is going to sound, it was the opportunity to work. Now, we all sit around here today in America and we think how strange it is to hear that. But my father, at the age of 18, was given an opportunity to become an apprentice printer. And he took it, he snapped it up, and he worked as an apprentice printer for 3 years. He got married to my mother when he was 16. They had 3 young children at home, and my father went to work on July 12th. Now, for those of you who don't know July 12th commemorates the victory of the Protestant king over the Catholic king, King James. And it's a British Protestant holiday in Northern Ireland. And my father went to work that day, and when he got to work after lunch, and he came back, and his entire cubicle where he worked was decorated with the Union Jack and God Save the Queen. Now, that may not sound like much to us here, but imagine if you're African American coming back to your cubicle and finding a noose hanging there, or if you're Jewish and finding a swastika. My father did what any other 21-year-old Irish Catholic kid would do. He ripped it down and he turned around and he was confronted by 3 or 4 of his co-workers who proceeded to beat my father into a coma with a wooden mallet. Yep. 30 days my dad spent in a coma. And when he woke up, he looked at my mother and he looked at his 3 young children and he realized there was no future for his family in Belfast. Truth. True story. My dad got on a boat, he came to America and brought my mom and 3 siblings out a year later. And within 10 years, my father was a union organizer for the Typographical Union. He actually started it in Philadelphia. My mother got a job as a cleaning lady in the Philadelphia school systems. And my father formed a group called the Irish Northern Aid, which helped Irish Catholics in Northern Ireland, raising literally millions of dollars for Irish Catholic community causes. People have said to me throughout the years, how is it you guys were so instrumental and so had so much union support and labor support every time your brother Seamus ran? And the answer is very simple. As my father founded Irish Northern Aid, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I mean, we literally sprung out of a labor movement. So when I tell that story to people, people have to understand that when I come to the campaign trail and I start talking about issues like fairness and justice, these aren't campaign slogans for a guy like me. These are ways, they're really tenets of how my family was raised, what my mother and father really drummed into us. One word: experience. You take a look at this particular office, and it's a resume office. When you start talking about what the Attorney General does and what the Attorney General is responsible for doing, you've really got to look beyond the rhetoric, and you've got to look to the resume. You know, I can tell you right now, nobody's going to put their qualifications up against mine. I've spent 20 years in the courtroom every single day. That's what I do. I'm not a professional politician. I'm not somebody that seeks public office after public office after public office. I'm proud of my profession. I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud to know that the fight for justice in the 21st century is found in a courtroom. And that's what I've been doing for almost 21 years now. I've been fighting for justice in Pennsylvania courtrooms, both in a criminal context, fighting for victims of crime, and on a civil context, fighting for victims of corporate greed and corporate negligence. You know, I think the one thing as funny as this is going to sound to most people, when people know about my family background and my family history, you get a sense of what's right and what's wrong from, your mother and father, obviously. Since the time I was a kid, one of my earliest memories, and one of the things I kind of think back about in my childhood was I've collected, as strange as this is going to sound, I was a comic book collector. And as funny as it sounds, it's when you're talking about something that's completely outside the realm of politics, when you really dig down in the comic books, you really get a sense of the hero and the sense of what's right and what's wrong from those comic books. And as strange as it sounds and as funny as it sounds to the average Pennsylvanian, that's something I've often thought about in context of why I do what I do. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm just looking forward to the race. I mean, the fun part about this race, Bob, is that I've got to get out and meet the average Pennsylvanian. And I think once people start to focus in on what that office does, and just as importantly, what that office doesn't do but can do, it becomes very, very clear to people that we need a change on how politics is done in Pennsylvania right now. People want somebody with practical experience. They don't want just somebody who's going to be able to give a good speech, unless of course that speech is a closing argument. I'm really looking forward to doing it, and I'm really looking forward to making some interesting systemic changes to how the Office of the Attorney General operates. Most importantly, the mission is going to be to change how that office operates for the betterment of the office and for the average, everyday Pennsylvanian.